Good evening, everybody. I'm Wendell Hurricane Burris, and our co-host is Neil Huff, and we're here tonight, and it's for the October edition of Seekers Podcast. And our guest tonight is Matthew Orton, ain't it right? Ain't that how you say
That's
your
right.
last name? Orton? All right.
Orton.
And we got our normal panel, except BC. He said he was going to be here today. Well, maybe he'll come in a little bit. I don't know. We'll just let everybody introduce herself around. We'll go with Barry and then Dale and then Neil and then we'll let Matthew introduce himself and what he's working with and all of his pages and everything. We'll go from there. All right, Barry.
I'm Barry Preston Robinson and Mom. I'm here. I'm from the Christian Squatcher group and page. That's about it.
All right. Where are you located out of?
North Central Kentucky.
North Central Kentucky. All right. Dale?
Hi, I'm Dale. I'm up here at Heber Springs, Arkansas. Good to see y'all tonight. Good to see Matthew. And, of course, always good to see you, Mom.
Yeah.
Just looking forward to tonight. It'll be a good show.
All right, Neil.
All right, this is Neil. I'm reporting live from Cass, Arkansas. Been doing this for a couple of years now with these guys, and they're a good group of guys, and they've gotten pretty close to me. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say, bud. Definitely for sure hear what you have to say.
All right, Matthew. It's show's yours. Go ahead and introduce everything.
It's showtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm Matthew Orton. I'm the host of the Drunken Cryptic podcast, located here in Central Arkansas, North Little Rock to be exact. I've been an enthusiast in the field since I was a kid. So I can't even, 40 plus years, to be honest with you. My show centers around encounters of obviously cryptids, Bigfoot, all of them. The paranormal. We do investigations as well. We do investigations. We do research. Go on some expeditions. I was just filmed with Jason Kinsey from the Search for Sasquatch series, and that episode will air sometime next year. It's an editing process now. We have some other expeditions coming up next year that we're working on. We're looking at going to Tennessee, Kentucky, even, believe it or not. Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas, Oregon, Alaska, and Utah.
Wow. You're going to be getting all over the nation. I got a little deal that me and Dale's been invited to. I'm planning on going up to the land between lakes in November around Thanksgiving and do a investigation and show there during Thanksgiving weekend. So that'd be cool.
Mm-hmm. Ironic enough, I will be kid-free that weekend. So if you want company, because the land between the lakes is where I want to go.
All right. Yeah.
Yep. So, go look. And to be honest with you, I don't think we're going to run into Sasquatch out there. I think there'd be more of a dogman encounters and stuff. Yeah, you look at the history of it. Yep. The history of the encounters, everything. It's really not a good place. It's, anybody that goes in there to research and for serious research, you're going to want to go in prepared for the unexplained. The line between the lakes it's a different area. All the research I've done into it it's it'll be a lot of fun, but that's where I want to go in Kentucky, actually.
All right. Well, we'll talk more about that then. Yeah, we'll be going and we're leaving out Thanksgiving morning, and we're gonna stay till that Sunday evening late and head back. So,
well, that's not bad at all, then.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that won't be bad. That'll be a lot of fun. If I'm not able to make it, I want to hear all about it, because that's where I plan on wanting to go. next year. But now, well, actually, next month in November, I'm supposed to be going back up to the Jasper area to link up with Todd Neese, and we're going to go do a little bit more research in the areas that we filmed in. Begin last month, because yeah, we had some crazy encounters up there, and I really can't talk about it because it hasn't aired on the show, and that, you know what I mean. So, but it was, yeah, the night investigations where everything got interesting.
You said that was up in Jasper?
Yeah, that's what a Jasper.
I know that area very, very well, and yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that off. But yeah, I want to ask some questions. Got my curiosity.
Yeah, so right there where Todd Neese lives at, I mean, there is, on the BFRO website, there's a ton of sightings, recent ones as well. And so those are some of the areas that we went investigated to look into. We checked out a waterfall area to where an eyewitness up there saw two of them bathing in this waterfall. So, yeah, we decided to go investigate that. And of course, look around for tracks, but the ground litter is too full for us to, actually dig in and look. So, but other than that, so with the Jason Kins expedition that night, though, yeah, I got some audio that I recorded to where, yeah, it was a little interesting. So, yeah, and then of course, like we were talking before, we do have a research area right outside of Bald Knob, which, ironic enough, and I interviewed you guys, we're like right next door to each other.
Yeah, that's just amazing. That's like I was saying, more collaboration from two different teams that didn't even know anything about each other and having the same results, and within 5 or 10 miles of each other, probably closer than that. But
yeah, I think it's closer than that. Now, the funny part is, so for this investigation area that we have to maintain it. We have to keep it private, obviously, because the owner doesn't want, film crews up there, doesn't want researchers up there, which is respectable, and understandable. And the funny part is, though, is the owner doesn't believe in Bigfoot. But here's a kicker, though. So the reason why we got involved into this area had nothing to do with Sasquatch. Nothing at all. My lead investigator, Chris, and this guy, I met him at a Jeep event. I have a Jeep, so I do the Jeep events around here, and we hang out. And when I go to the Jeep events, I hand out my card, I hand out stickers if I have it, just try and promote the show. So me and him got talking, and he mentioned a skinwalker in Bald Knob. And I'd heard reports of this already, and I just have a hard time with skinwalkers in Arkansas. It may be something else, but it's definitely a skinwalker. The skinwalkers are going to be more out west, tied in with, the Navajo, the Utes, and all those guys. So, and I said, I'll tell you what, here's my information. Reach out to me, talk to me. And so Chris wanted to sit down and meet face to face and explain his encounter to me. And again, I'm expecting a Bigfoot encounter. Nothing to do with Bigfoot. Chris gets to a spot, and I'll summarize it. I have an episode, I'll summarize it for you guys, but it's the episode of I want to say the Shadow Stalker of my show. So Chris sits down, he just gets to a spot. You guys know how it is. As soon as you get there, early in the morning, it's pitch black. Sets his rifle down, trying to settle into the area, and he hears this rustling coming off to his left. So he's expecting, armadillo, something. This giant thing rushes to him, towers over him, and he says, "There in a matter of seconds." So where he was pulling his handgun out. By the time he moved it over to his waist, it was already there, towering over him. He described this being about 7 foot tall, but not hairy, no breathing, nothing at all. So now, of course, I'm blown away by this encounter, and this thing is there for a few seconds and it backs off to the woods. Well, I'm intrigued, and I start researching into it and find this Native American legend of a creature called an Elusa. And what this creature does is it stalks hunters, lost hunters. And when they find the hunter, it'll stick them with the thorn, and they get delusional and they go crazy. So what he's describing, what he saw, and I posted pictures of it, excuse me, on my Facebook, is just bizarre. So that is what intrigued us, and then go into this area to investigate, because I've never heard of this. We get out there, and there's two spots in Wacutler Farm. There's two spots in the farm. One where you have the encounter at, and then another spot. It's funny, my dog can hear y'all's dog. So we go out there to investigate, and he's showing us where he had this creature at. We're trying to, reenact it, look at it, figure out what was going on. And he's showing us all this really weird, and this area is bizarre. The woods are bizarre. The ground's bizarre. It's weird. There's no other way to describe it than just one of those places when you get in there, it feels off. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So as we go, yep. So as we go through, we're armed because I'll be honest with you. There's more things in the woods that are going to hurt you than a cryptid. So whenever we go, we're obviously going to be armed for self-protection, not to hunt and kill anything, but for self-protection. We're going through the property. We get to the end of the property where it butts up next to somebody else's. And I'm standing there and I'm looking across this field, and I remember there was these 3 trees, and there was something black in these 3 trees. So, instincts kicked in, had a rifle with the scope on it. So I raised the rifle up with the scope to try and look at it through the scope. Couldn't see it. There was a branch perfectly laid right in the way. Y'all know how it is, where the scope is at. So I was switching the iron, moving back to scope, back to iron, back to scope, and it was gone. And it was after this encounter to where the team believes that I possibly may have gotten zapped or something along those lines, because I acted squirrely and I wanted to get out of the area. But Chris takes it to the next area, and that's where we found the structure at. And we have actually, I believe I showed y'all the pictures of it.
Right.
Yeah. This actual structure thing, and it is bizarre. The branches are actually woven into each other. It's not stacked in. They're actually like something took the time to braid, these branches in, and to where it doesn't make sense. And it's been maintained on the property since 2019, to where nobody put 2 and 2 together about this, because again, nobody believes in Bigfoot. Well, Chris obviously does. And so out in the area now, we're having numerous tree bands, all over the place. We're shut down for obvious reasons. We're hunting season right now. The owner won't let us back in until after season's passed. And we're going to go back in there, and so we're going to try and link up with y'all as well. And it is, so Chris is out there, trail cam's going, camera's going, and we actually believe that we caught a face. And I think I showed you guys a face, didn't I?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure did.
So Chris taking a picture of a bent tree, and in the top left of the picture is tipped over blind, but it looked blurry. It looked weird, like a blob squatch. And so we were focused on that, trying to figure out what that was. And the AI program, believe it or not, everybody with this picture kept saying AI was pulling up. One AI program said there was a person in the picture. Another AI program pulled up and said that there was an animal in the picture. So, and a buddy, Eric from Uncomfortable, I sent to him, the Uncomfortable podcast, I sent the picture to him. I was like, can you make heads or tails of this? And within a matter of minutes, he sends it back to me with the circle of the face, and he goes, what's this? And it's a clear defined, like, Bigfoot's looking at it. I mean, Chris, being smart, has got multiple pictures of the same spot, and it only appears in that one picture.
That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's
I
what we
guess
got.
it's Chris. Did you see the message down at the bottom? Chris going said, "What's up, Matthew?"
Hey, Chris. No, I don't see the messages. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. So Chris, he is he's a partner with the Nevermore Hollows podcast.
Yeah.
And so, so I got to give a shout out to Chris and Alan over there. Chris, what's up, brother? So they're a good group of guys. They're out in Tennessee. And their podcast, they do stories. So, but I've had Alan and Chris on my show. I've been featured on theirs. And now they're actually, so with the story of what they're doing, They're featuring now the Drunken Cryptid Tavern. So they're building a tavern in their universe, which is pretty cool with the Drunken Cryptids. And it sounds like I'm going to have a character, full time, hopefully inside their series.
Sounds good. That's awesome.
Yep.
And then Chris Ketterman's Drunken Cryptids investigation team is in the house.
Yep, that's the Chris guy that I was talking. Chris, what's up, bro? Yeah, so that's my other Chris. I get like two Chris's. So yeah. So Chris Ketterman, he's the guy he's the one that is out there on the property. He's leading the investigation for us and stuff. And he's the other guy I'm going to try and get linked up with you guys. So where when I interviewed you guys, Chris was the other guy that helped me interview you.
Oh yeah, okay, that Chris.
That Chris.
Putting faces with names here. Well, one of our team guys, Braden, says he can't go on live. I don't know why. We ain't got 10 people. I'm allowed 10 people. Braden, you're listening.
I think it's his phone itself is what he's talking about. He's been having phone issues.
Oh. All right. BC said he's on his way. I hope he heard all that you was just saying, because he's our guy in Ball Knob.
Oh, all right. So what's fascinating about Bald Knob, though, is actually I think the whole entire state of Arkansas. I don't think Arkansas gets enough respect in the cryptid world, to be honest with you. No. Being a kid from Utah growing up, and I grew up in the Wasatch Front and played in the Uinta Mountains all the time as a kid, and even up in the Wind Rivers of Wyoming. So we were always in the mountains, always. And Bigfoot was always a threat, something along, just an idea, not a threat per se, but growing up with it. So coming to Arkansas, actually being in the military and going around, you always hear most of the Bigfoot stories you're going to hear. Of course, you hear about the skunk ape, though, down here in the South. And that comes a lot out of Florida, spreads to Louisiana, coming up into, Arkansas, Tennessee, places like that. But not one time as a kid that I think that Bigfoot would be in Arkansas. And there is so much room down here, and there's so much habit. I mean, the food we can eat, survive. I mean, with the farms, with dear Lord, the deer alone. As I've said before, I think every street in Arkansas should have a watch for deer sign. It doesn't matter whether you're in downtown Little Rock, you're going to have deer. I mean, we just had a black bear sighting a couple of months ago down here in Little Rock. So there's plenty of, food. I'm trying to think of a better word than food. Then I can't. But there's plenty of food for these creatures to survive on. And there's plenty of places for them to hide. I mean, we have cave systems here that are just amazing. And the lakes that we have here are amazing. There's so much here in Arkansas that I can't see why, and I know they're here. Absolutely. And with what I experienced up there in Jasper was, there's something here. There's no doubt about that at all.
Well, even the BFR sites on the reportings is way short of the sightings that's actually been seen around here. And I don't know why there's such a discrepancy there, but there's just like that one area that we go to a lot. It barely shows any sightings at all on BFRO. But
I think Yeah, well, Del, I think a lot of that comes into place with so, and I don't want to. I'm not trying to attack or bash any organization or anything at all. But with the BFRO, is one, they're selective about what they post. They're selective about what they report. And if there's any woo activity at all, like it disappeared, it vanished, there were orbs. They have a hard time. They're not going to put that to where they're stuck on, it being a true flesh and blood creature. Which it obviously is because it eats, it poops, it makes little ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
there's
also something. Yeah, there's also something paranormal to it, and I wouldn't say it was necessarily paranormal because you got to remember, all magic is science that hasn't been explained yet. So when it comes to the woo factor of Bigfoot, there's something to that we don't fully understand, and I've got 1,000 theories on that. because I don't think they're coming through portals. I don't think they're, I do think some of the Bigfoot sightings that involve portals, that involve the orbs and stuff, I think that could tie in with another cryptid that utilizes Bigfoot, if that makes sense. The projection of Bigfoot for us.
Right.
So,
Possible.
yeah, because part of my show, I mean, like I said, I was that nerdy kid where I dig into all this stuff. And once you start digging into Bigfoot, to be honest with you, if you try and go down one rabbit hole, will take you down to another rabbit hole, take you down to another rabbit hole. And the next thing you know, Bigfoot's an interdimensional being that hangs out with Elvis and rides around in UFOs.
Yeah.
So.
I was wondering about that, on the BFR investigations, I know they have a bunch of them on there. I saw the one of them that's right up there by Todd Neese. It had a pretty detailed description about being in the water, and everything, and stepping up out of the water, grabbing a limb, and all that stuff is pretty detailed. I know when I first started realizing that there was something going on around here, before I even talked to Wendell, I got hold of BFRO and I was like, "Hey guys, your show's Finding Bigfoot. You want to see him? I'll take you to him." And they never even answered me, and I'm like, "Okay, well, you're lost."
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I'll be honest with you, Dale. You're on my list of places I want to go to. Like when I mentioned the convention we did. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about trying to get out there. And my problem is that I'm a single dad, so I have my kids a lot. So I got to try and plan and execute and do all this stuff. Not only run the podcast and set the investigations up, because we do more than just Bigfoot too. Like we were just out at a battlefield here, Reed's Bridge, here in Jacksonville, Arkansas, a couple of weeks ago. I thought it'd be kind of cool to do an actual, a podcast, record a podcast out there in a haunted location, in a battlefield at night, where people have had, encounters on the paranormal. And yeah, to where so not just solely on Sasquatch that we're on, but we do the paranormal. And I actually had one of my team members actually got touched. He actually had something rub his hand across her her back while we were walking through the woods. So yeah, that was kind of crazy. That was the only thing that we caught, and we so we can't say whether or not this happened or this, but that was a pretty crazy encounter that we had. So trying to plan all that. So, but Dale, I am coming.
Definitely been up there. I go back anytime we need to, Dale. But there's a big boy up there. It's a 21-inch track we cast up there, and that's where we got the butt print. Is at Dale's area.
Yeah. And then last time I was up there, I got that. I had a big old handprint up there in that same area, big old handprint.
Yeah.
And over on the east end of the mountain, it's where I was going to the falls that day just to maybe take some pictures and stuff, and had two of them was right ahead of me. And when I got up in there, of course, I had Sable that day, and Sable got to snorting and blowing. She's smelling something she doesn't like. She's trying to get it out of her nose. And when she started doing that, I started looking around a lot closer. And it wasn't but a couple of minutes, and I could smell it too. And I was like, oh, gosh.
Oh, wow.
My dog that was actually up in my lap a while ago came and got me by the wrist and started pulling me back down that mountain. And so I said, well, Sable, she's done took off. Colt's wanting me off the mountain pretty bad, so I better listen to him. And I started on the way down. And I'd seen some toe prints in some mud where they'd went up ahead of me. They were actually going to the falls, I think. And you could tell where something stepped and slid trying to get up this muddy bank there. And there was a log laying across there, a big old oak log from a tree that had fallen down. And it was probably 18 inches diameter, or maybe a little bit smaller than that. And they had went right up over that log. Well, that was the most logical way to go if you were going to go up to the falls that day. So I kind of meandered around there and went over that log too, and got up in there and went up in there until I started smelling something. I came back down, and when Colt wanted me off of the mountain, I was like, okay, I'm going. Let's go. So we got down there, and on the way back down to that same log, I'm talking just logs like yay big around, oak. And I heard a big old loud pop. I'm like, man, what was that? And I got down to that log, and you could see where something had went back over that log, and down in the mud below it was some big old footprints shoved into the deep mud down there, like something had leaped over that log on the way back down and had broken that log in half. And I was like, yep, it's time for me to go. But I went straight south and got off the mountain and went all the way to the road and then came up to my house. I said, I'm not going across there. If that's the way they're going too, not me. So anyway, it's pretty interesting. But there's some good ones up there, that's for sure. And both them prints were about 13, 14 inches long. There was 2 sets of them.
Well, Dale, we're planning to come on up there and link up with you and go check it out. So
yeah.
Awesome.
I know how the log breaks are, though. I will tell you all this, though, is that when you are I've been so my main encounter that I had with Sasquatch or whatever it was that I had was at Fort Hood, Texas, when I was stationed down there, and it's been featured on a couple of podcasts. It has a little bit of every aspect about Sasquatch, from flesh and blood to the middle to the complete woo. And it was a bizarre encounter. And when you talk about the log breaking, I had 2 soldiers with me. I was the NCOIC of a guard detail guarding this ammunition holding area, AHA. So everybody refers to it as the AHA story. And we had a log break. Whatever it was it had to be multiple creatures stalked us all night long, all around our AHA. And walked up on us, disappeared, wasn't there. I mean, completely bipedal. It just had a giant rock thrown at us at one point. It snuck in and stole one of our glow sticks. I mean, it was just toward the guards that I had with me, my soldiers. I mean, they were crying and going, "Hey, Sergeant, can we leave? Can we leave? Can we leave? Can we leave?" And it was that bad. It was pretty intense encounter.
Yeah, that's kind of shocked me that day because it was that broken log wasn't 20 yards from when I turned around and started going back down, and I'm like, they were that close to me. There's 2 of them, and they were that close to me and made a quick escape, from me and my dog. And I was like, boy, that's something. But I'd been seeing them. I'd been seeing their tracks for about an hour up through there, And I kept picking the easiest way to go up the mountain to get to those falls because I knew they were really going to be running good with the rain we'd had. And I started noticing that they were going the same direction I was. And that was they were going the easiest route to get through. There was a tornado come through there a couple years back and tore a whole bunch of trees up in there. And so you kind of got to weave your way around to get through that east end down there. And they were going the same way I was. And I think that was quite interesting.
That's crazy. Crazy. I love it. I could talk about Bigfoot, Sasquatch all night long. So big passion of mine.
All kinds of trouble. He can't get on for some reason. Y'all didn't have no trouble getting on.
Nope.
He said he can't see the link, but it's right there at the top. You just click on it. I don't know. Sorry, Braden. I've sent you the link about 4 times, and you say you can't see it. I don't understand what's going on, but all right. BC, since you're our go-to guy for around balling off and everything, and we've told Matthew about our encounter that happened over there and everything, but the one where the log was thrown in at us, I was wanting you to kind of go through that again, see if we forgot any details, make sure we're always on the same page and everything here.
Are you talking about Hurricane Lake? The Hurricane Lake area?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Well, I know that we, I think it was probably about 200, 300 yards north of where the road ended. And we went out there and we were hearing whoops and wood knocks from our 9 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and roughly 2:30 positions. We did have a limb or something tossed at us. Then we looked up, and that's when Larry Williams said, "Hey, guys," and we walked over there, and that's when we saw what we saw.
Right.
And
Matthew's actually seen the pictures and everything. Somewhere I had them posted on our page if everybody wants to look at them. But it was just crazy what was going on there. And we never did figure out what's that in the center. It looks like a squatch looking around the tree. So,
yeah, there's a squatch, and then that alien-looking entity or whatever was looking up towards the squatch. Why? I mean, I have no idea. But if you recall, all the bugs, all the insects and birds, except for that one locust that was close to us, went dead quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was kind of creepy. And I think it was just Wendell and I saw that, whatever you want to call it, stand up. And I'm guesstimating 6.5 to 7 feet tall. It was wearing something, because I didn't see any bare legs or anything like that.
What I was bringing it up was because Matthew, before you got here, was talking about some skinwalker deal, or what'd you call them?
Nalusa.
Yeah. So
yep.
I'm
so
just wondering,
Nalusa is related to the Native American. Yeah. Okay. So once you describe the alien-looking thing, that makes me wonder whether, because where Hurricane Lake is at is nearby where we're at, and this Nalusa creature that I believe is probably what ran up on Chris. Chris, I know I just see your comment right there. You know what I'm talking about. But if you could resend me that picture of this thing, I'll get it over to Chris and see if that's pretty much what he saw. But again, it was dark, and he sketched it out as best he could. But what's funny, you talk about the insects, though. So, everybody talks about how the insects, when Sasquatch is around, they get quiet.
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't think so. I think there's something else when that happens, because, Sasquatch is part of the nature. It is part of everything that's happening. It is, it lives out there. They know it. It's, we go walk through the woods and the insects, still chirp, right? And we're the most alien thing that could come into the woods. So if the insects and the animals are getting quiet, there's got to be something else tied into this other than just Sasquatch.
Well, that happens. That's happened before with me when there was actually just an apex predator. Like I don't know if I told you about it, but I've actually tracked a tiger before and mountain lions when I was younger, and everything would go quiet like that when they got close, And so I think it's more just an apex predator, and I think nature just decides that by itself. I really don't know if it's a Sasquatch or what it is, but something is there,
Yeah, that's what makes me wonder, because obviously Sasquatch is going to be an apex predator in the territory that it's in. There's nothing to be anything bigger than that. I love to see a grizzly and a Sasquatch go at it. I think that'd be a good fight to watch. But I think that when it comes to the insect sounds, everything getting quiet, there's something else going on. Because, we can go out walk in the woods right now, all of us, tromping around and making noise because that's what we're going to do. And, yeah, it may get quiet right where we're at within 5 feet of us, but outside of that circle, it's still being loud. There's still the crickets still chirping. But when it gets silent like that, that makes me wonder whether or not there is maybe a little bit of the woo factor, or, Todd Neese has this theory of this infrasound that, that's what they're using. Sasquatch using infrasound. And, I'm on the same page with them. So maybe the infrasound for them is almost a defensive mechanism where they trigger this infrasound on, and that's what makes the woods go silent. Because now it affects everything.
I can agree with that.
So because the infrasound, again, if I got zapped out there in Bald Knob, which Chris, I think, I know you're watching because, yeah, it is about a mile from there. It's a real deal. And it leaves an impression. Like that night that we had when I was in, Fort Hood, it was all three of us, me and my two guards, it affects everybody differently, but these two guys were literally crying. These are trained, infantry soldiers who've been out of basic over a year. And I mean, in one case, the guy had been out over 2 years, and they're crying and they're begging to leave. And they're not going to do that at all. And looking back and, doing the research in infrasound, especially with what Todd Neese is talking about, it's a real deal. I mean, you guys out there all the time, how many times have you been out there and all of a sudden just not felt right, felt ill, felt like you had, the heebie-jeebies, or kind of sick to your stomach.
That's like that area up there where we're going in December. That one particular camp out, when we had all the batteries and stuff go bad, we had 3 or 4 get sick in the camp that night. And I was usually all over the mountains in front of them. And I got back to camp and I got in my truck and went to sleep for about 5 hours. I was just totally drained. And that's just not like me at all, and I just couldn't go. I had to just lay down. And I just wonder if maybe that was part of that too. But I know it definitely affects you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've got 2 members hit with it. Neil's one of them. You won't say anything about it, Neil?
Yeah, it sucks. Whenever I got hit, one of the times I think I've been hit was I was driving on the side of a bluff line in the middle of the night, and I think it was on the edge of this bluff where I couldn't see it, and I think that it zapped me on that bluff because I couldn't tell you what was up and down. I couldn't tell you what was left and right. I couldn't tell you directions of anything. All I remember was telling that my driver or my passenger, which I never would let drive my truck, I told him something's wrong, you're going to drive. And next thing I know, I'm waking up an hour later in the passenger seat, buckled in. My shoes are off, my socks are off, my pants are unzipped, but they're not off. But I think I was trying to pull my pants off, but I think I was grabbing my seatbelt, and I was drenched in sweat. The one thing I can remember that night is the feeling or the sensation of water being poured on me. I don't know why. I don't know what that's about, but it's almost like water slowly flowing over you is kind of the feeling that I had before I started getting kind of loopy and out there really quick. What woke me up though, and it was cold. That's another thing too. It was freezing cold that night. And what woke me up was my truck had Flowmasters on the exhaust, and he got to get on the interstate. And when he did, he started dropping gears, and my Flowmasters kicked in, and that's what woke me up. And when I come to, I was like, man, I just don't feel good. And he's like, dude, I was about to take you to the hospital. You're sweating like crazy, and you're hot, and it's cold outside. I don't know what to do. I'm like, just take me home. And that's I think that's probably the worst as far as like recovering from it that I've ever had to do. It took me a little bit. But one of the other times I think that infrasound had got to me was up on the backside of White Rock Mountain where I had some rocks thrown at me. Actually, there's a video of it on our Arkansas Bigfoot cartel, like back when we very first opened the page from several years back. That. And whenever, as I was going after the rocks were getting thrown at me and walking back towards my truck backwards with a gun or a pistol in my hand, just the intense fear that I felt. I mean, I felt like the fear I've never felt before. And I've been in some hairy situations in my life, even with certain jobs I've worked. this here was a fear like I can never explain. Like I could hear things moving around me. I couldn't see them, but I could hear them. And I mean, just the feeling of just a fear that I had. But what was really weird was when I got off the mountain, because I went racing off that mountain like a bat out of hell. Pardon my French. But when I got to the bottom of that mountain and I hit the highway and I drove up a little ways and went off onto another road, I had to pull over because I got sick and I puking on the side of the road, and I just drove on to my mom's house after that. But yeah, I've had a couple of times where that's just two things that come across my mind. Now, there's been times I've been like in Area 2 before that I just for no reason, I had extreme fear kick in, and I just felt like I had to get out of there then. But I've also had them across the creek from me whooping at me, or walking up and down the creek as I'm sitting in there in the camp, just sitting there being quiet, or collecting recorders or putting recorders out so they know I'm there. They're getting to where they're not that damn scared. They're not scared of me. They're not shy of me. They won't come out where I can see them, but they're not ashamed of letting us know that they're there, though. But as far as the infrasound goes, yeah, I mean, I think it's real. It does suck because whenever you get hit, to me, from what I've been through, it was hard for me to recover from. Both times. Both times I got hit extremely, because I did have some the night that I was driving my truck, I had nightmares that night. I did have some nightmares about just things in the woods that shouldn't happen. I know it's kind of hard, but it's hard to hear or hard to explain really more than anything else. But yeah, it did affect me. I do. I'll stand up right now and say I'll argue with anybody that says infrasound's not real. Because if that's the case, then explain to me what I just went through. Walt Disney even used infrasound in his movies.
Yep.
Back in the old days, and actually, if I remember correctly, there was a movie he used the wrong signals on, and at the theater, and they made people sick at the theater. They made them nauseous instead of happy. So he made a slight mistake, and I remember, anything's possible nowadays. We can do so much with technology. There's no reason that something natural. I mean, there's so many animals that have infrasound, elephants and gators, and all the above that does have that kind of capabilities. I mean, why wouldn't a Sasquatch be able to do something?
Yeah. Tigers use it to freeze their prey before they pounce.
Yeah.
And you're right about the nightmare thing, though. So the funny part is, in Bald Knob, when I got zapped, Chris will tell you, because I was riding with Chris in his Jeep, and he kept saying to where I just acted weird. I wanted out. I wanted to leave the area. I wanted to just go. And I had nightmares that week. I really did. It took me, the whole week. I remember I did an interview with a guy, and ironic enough is that we had the same dream. So, and to where I was cryptid hunting in this dream, looking, out there cryptid hunting, and this giant snake just popped up to attack me. And I had to run away from this giant snake. And this alligator came out of this house. Again, it's a dream, and how it is, and attacks the snake. And so Alan from Nevermore Hollows, he had a dream where he was out looking for cryptids, and a giant snake attacked him. So, but yeah, the nightmare thing is real. The infrasound thing is real, and I'm with you on that one, Neil. I'll stand up and I'll argue. I'll die on the hill that once you get zapped, because even at Fort Hood, I think they were zapping us, and it took a while to recover. I mean, my ex-wife that morning when I got home, I mean, she thought I'd been to war by the way I looked. And it was just a guard duty, a 24-hour guard duty. So I should have gone home, slept, no big deal. But no, it was pretty traumatic. And I think that the infrasound is what causes a lot of these feelings of dread. And also, as Todd Neese described it, to where we get the blob squatches, because the infrasound is coming out. It affects our eyes. It can affect our camera lenses. It can affect our technology. And I think I got zapped because, again, out of instinct, I raised the rifle up. And when I raised the rifle up, that's when I got zapped. and it might have taken what I was doing as a threat.
Right. Well, I'll stand there. I've seen, like I said, both of my team members get hit with something like that. So I seen their reaction. And Marcus, I'm kind of thinking he's kind of leery of being on talking about it because he's a couple of times that he's wanted to, and then never has. So that's weird.
Well,
I can
in that
understand it.
reference, people don't believe you. People think you're nuts. They really do. They think if you report something like that you're automatically crazy. And I'm like, there's something happening in there that a bunch of us has experienced things like this. Something's going on. Something's making us all have reactions. We're not all having medical problems. That's another thing too. I've got serious medical problems now. I don't know if it's related to any of the stuff that I've been playing in these woods and just maybe I've been pushing boundaries I shouldn't have been pushing, but I'm battling heart problems. I'm battling cancer. I mean, and I'm young. I'm not that old. I'm only 46 years old. So I do wonder if that has some play into it. I mean, I have no way of proving it. I have no way of anything to really back that up. But being that I've put myself in stupid situations lots of times and got the crap scared out of myself several times, and I feel like I have been hit with infrasound several times, that I wonder if maybe I've just pushed my limits and my body has reacted to it. I just don't know. I'm more cautious of what I do.
Our 3 areas that we concentrate on, actually 4, but 3 that we've been to the most, which is Ball Knob and Sylamore National Forest and near the OARC area, where we call Area 2. All 3 of these has major activity, and anytime that you go there, you can find Sasquatch evidence, structures, tracks, and have a type of an encounter with them, because they'll come to you at night. There's no if and ands or buts about it. Especially Area 2 that we're going in December. If Chris gets to go, or who was the other one?
Jacob.
Jacob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jacob's pretty excited about it. He really is. I don't know if Chris is going to be able to go or not. He's got some personal issues he's working through. We're hoping it all works through fine. If it wasn't a kid weekend, I'd be out there with you guys.
Right. I understand that. Too bad. I hadn't met you before we scheduled it, and so unfortunately. But now in February, we're going back there, and that's something I want to talk to you, and Neil wants to talk to you about. Since you've been part of a town hall, we're wanting to do a town hall meeting there at what's the pizza place called, Neil?
Paradise Pizza.
Paradise Pizza. And
you'll love it, Matthew. Hillbilly Lager. Fantastic.
We'll talk offline about that.
Yeah, you're definitely invited to come to that one, and then it's further enough out that we can move it around. So, all
right. But usually, I can do. Yeah, I'll help you guys with that.
All right.
Have you ever done any investigations around Franklin or Johnson County before?
Me? Yeah. No.
Okay. I was wondering.
So most of my investigations, honestly, have been Utah. So as a kid, that's where I went and did everything at, was in Utah. Like I said, I joined the Army, and then here in Arkansas, most of the time you would talk to people. You ever have Bigfoot encounter, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of these guys are hunting. They'll briefly talk about it. Not being a native, I've been here for over 20 years. I'm still not a native yet. It might be the Steelers. I don't know what it is, but they'll open up to a point for me to come out, and we'll check it out and go in and look and dig. But nothing substantial. It's mainly all been focused around here. I believe there's a couple sightings of it here in Little Rock. actually, of Sasquatch. I mean, I got Camp Robinson right the road, and on the BFR website about 10 years ago, somebody called in saying they watched it cross the street to go into Camp Robinson. I've got another encounter up on the Air Force Base, Jacksonville Air Force Base, Little Rock Air Force Base in Jacksonville. So, going out there and checking those areas. But again, too, though, I'm able to get on post. But what I find funny is that these areas to where they've had encounters at is off limits.
Right.
So, and I think that Sasquatch uses these areas as a chance to recoup because they know they're not going to be messed with. And I think the Sasquatch is a lot smarter than we give it credit for. And, they're also going to be creatures of habit. Like my theory right now on structures is I think that they make these structures, and every structure, if you notice that in different areas, are unique. From the height of the trees, how it varies, some are higher up, some are about medium, some are lower, the crosses and stuff like that, where the tree bands. I'm thinking that these are, a lot of people are like, well, these are like GPS markers, or they're, markers for where they're going. Sasquatch has been in these woods a lot more than we have. He's not going to get lost out there. He knows where he's going. Well, I say he, but you know what I mean? They know where they're going. I think these markers are set up as territory.
I do too.
A lot of this, this is my clan's area, and I think the areas where there's a ton of them at, I think that there is multiple clans in that area. Or it could tie into dogman encounters, Nalusa encounters, or whatever else is paranormal going on in the woods, to where maybe Sasquatch is trying to market to protect its area from these other cryptids.
Yeah. Sign that stay out. This is mine. Don't be here.
Yep. Because right there by that structure we have, and we're looking at it like a nursery. We're looking at it like hunting blind. Like my theory right now is some of these structures where they're at and how they're set up is, the one that we have at Bald Knob, it could either be a good spot for a little nursery for them to put their young while they're doing Sasquatch things, or it's a hunting blind because there's a game trail to the left, there's a game trail to the right, and it'd be a perfect spot, deer moving through, but then to reach out and grab.
Right.
And I think that what if, we adopted, hunting blinds, honestly, from watching them do it hundreds of years ago. Because Native Americans had a relationship with them. So I don't know, just there.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah. You're on there twice, Wendell.
Huh.
I've never seen that.
I was still trying to get Braden on here through my phone on Messenger, but it ain't working. I don't know what happened. And we lost Barry.
Yeah, we've lost Barry a couple times here. There he is.
Oh, there he is. I figured that much. I only been doing this 2 years. And every time we go to do something like this, crazy stuff happens when we start talking about Bigfoot and other stuff. It's like somebody's listening in that don't want us to talk about it.
I believe you're right. I wouldn't say someone listening in, but I do think on some topics, digging into, because I kept a lot of my research in the paranormal, in the crypto world, close to the chest. And through the podcast now, and I tell everybody the podcast isn't about me. Now, I recorded an episode today because it is October, and I live in a couple of haunted houses, and so I talk about that. That episode will drop tomorrow. But with my research and everything into the paranormal, like I was saying, once you start going down the Sasquatch hole, it always seems to lead into other directions, and then the conspiracies come in. I mean, there's so many things to where, I'll be honest with you, I really think the Smithsonian is not a great organization. Yeah, I put it out there.
I agree.
Especially when it comes to the giants. Now I think it's funny to where the Native Americans are always referring to in the past of these red-headed giants. And I don't think the giants are like us, with red hair. I think that, they had that, you look at a lot of the, depictions of Sasquatch, it's a reddish brown hair. So to the natives who don't have that color hair, it's going to be a red hair.
Yeah.
So, and of course, then people find giant bones on their property, which probably are not giants, but probably Sasquatch. And the Smithsonian's come in numerous times and scooped it up, and they disappeared. Where'd they go?
We
have. I'm under the firm belief that once you get over the target, that's when you start getting the interference.
Yep.
Sure enough, like Area 2, we've had, while we've been there, we had it looked to be 6 to 7 foot drone fly over around us. And, I mean, it was way bigger than just a personal drone, but it had the 4 blades and everything, but it was huge. And a gray color. We've had black, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I might not need to be talking about it because we're going back to Area 2, but had black SUVs follow us out of there, and this is miles down into the forest there, and these are $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 rigs that come following us out.
Yeah, last time we stopped for lunch at Paradise Pizza that we was talking about.
I was
we had
just
2 of them in the parking lot with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, see,
they just sat there for a while, kind of swapped seats, took off again.
Yeah, I'm the guy's going to walk over and go, "How y'all doing?"
That's what Neil was in the process of doing. That's when they took off.
Yeah.
Neil, we don't need to hang out then, because I'll be the first one walking up going, "How y'all doing?"
Usually I'm the one that volunteers to do stupid stuff. So
that's me, and I'm the guy that leads the expedition. So I mean, when we go back at the Bald Knob, I'm going to use myself as bait for this Nalusa thing. I really am. So I got one area put Nalusa in it. I got another area with Sasquatch in it. So I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be bait. I'm gonna smother myself in peanut butter and go, "Come on, boys, let's go."
All right, back to Ball Knob. BC, tell what all the what is Ball Knob known for that you've been talking about? It's what kind of place? Everything happens, right?
Yes, we've had, or at least I've been, from my own experience, I've seen Bigfoot, the Elusa or alien or whatever you want to call it. I've seen orbs. I've seen UFOs. I know of people that have said they have seen Dogman and Mothman type creatures. It's like, you name it, we got it.
I mean,
it's just
kind of like a meeting,
a window area.
Yeah.
Well, so in my research into the Bald Knob area, what I've been finding out is at one point in time, the reason why it's called Bald Knob, because there was a giant rock, and they called it Bald Knob. And so they would say, "Let's go meet the Bald Knob." In our area that we're researching in, the owner grew up in this area. His mom and daddy were there, and vice versa. They purchased the property after the Civil War, and so the family's been out there ever since. And the owner now, he grew up on this property, and his dad would go out hunting, and he'd come back in the morning. Every morning when he got done, he'd be like, "Yep, I saw those shadow people again." So I mean, the owner believes in that, but doesn't tie in so much with Sasquatch. But when I interviewed him, he was like, "Yeah, Matthew, I mean, as a kid, when heavy rains, we'd go out there and we'd find nothing but arrowheads." And that tells me just right there, all these arrowheads, they're finding boxes of arrowheads in an area. That's a meeting area. There was a community there, either a meeting area or something, because how close it is. Y'all know the area to the rivers, the waterways. What's to say right there where we're at? And then let's think about it too. We got 2 national forests right there?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the private property right in the middle. So, I mean, that tells me, just, the history of it. And again, we don't have the Native American history. We have, word of mouth or what took place or what we heard, because of how, unfortunate circumstances that happened to them. Same thing with the Aztecs and the Mayans, to the south of us. Like we had the mounds here. I really think that they were traveling all the way down from Mexico up here, all the way through the Ohio Valley with these mounds. I mean, I got mounds, 30 minutes away from me. So, and they've changed. Yeah, now they're the Biomedo, but before that it was totally, to where they don't know. And to where, archaeologists and scientists are speculating on what these mounds are, who made them, and what they were used for. But they tie into what's taking place down in Central and South America. And if you look at where the mounds tie in at, all the way up in through the Ohio Valley, which we're kind of part of that here in Arkansas, there's something correlates with that. So I think up there in Bald Knob, is probably a lot more important than you realize. And you think about it too, though, there's so many weird cases that come out of Bald Knob. So just a quarter mile from where our structure is at, there was a hunter that went missing in 2016.
Yep.
Drove to his blind, and that's where they found his truck. Not him. For in 2020, his mom came on TV and talked about it, asking for help. The guy just disappeared. She's a 411.
Something needed him.
That's what I think.
All right, Barry. Let's kick in before we run out of time here and see what's anything been going on around your area out there. We've talked. Huh?
Well, hold on. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back, you guys. Is that okay?
All right.
All right. Sorry. Nature calls.
All right.
I'm drinking coffee.
No, we haven't had a thing around here.
Hadn't. It's been kind of picking up activity around here.
Well, yeah, Mom did hear something howling down in the woods the other night.
Oh, yeah?
Forgot about that.
Yeah, I noticed something about my place just last couple of days. I haven't felt real good here lately, and I haven't been able to get up there and keep that hillside weed eated off. And there is a solid trail going from the hillside to my house. It's just wore down. I'm like, well, not a deer. I mean, a deer's not going to come right down to the end of my house, But
Right.
it's a solid smash down trail about 2 foot wide all the way up the mountain.
Well, then something's been coming down
So
here.
it's kind of weird.
Yes.
Well, we need to, that way after deer season's over and the holidays over, maybe in January, plan another trip back up your mountain, and we need to get over to the area over here where the one run me off the podcast that night where we went down in there and you got sick that day too. You might have got hit by infrasound then, but I never even thought about it that day when we come out the last time. Remember you had to get in your truck and Jay had to carry you up there?
Yeah.
So I
was beat that day. I mean, I was tired. I don't know what
we was down there in ground zero. So if we can figure that out in January and in pretty days, we may do that and figure out. Matthew ain't too far, and his guys that drive up to here. I mean, here in yours and in Payburn, we might do that in January.
It's an idea. So, okay, so back to the infrasound though. So Tony, real good friend of mine, on the investigation we went out and did. Tony, for his job, he has to work with a lot of electronics, wiring, and he has an app on his phone that tracks frequencies. Okay.
Right.
So while we were out there, he actually got this crazy idea. He broke it out to check frequencies. And it looks like we found infrasound.
Awesome.
So we can run the app down here in the tavern with the TV going, electronics going, music playing, lights all around, nothing. But out there, we caught it. And the funny part is that so when I was with Searching for Sasquatch, their crew, filming up there in Jasper that night, I broke mine out. Because I texted him, dude, what's this app? He sent it to me, and so I got the app, and I'll share the app with you guys as well. But so I ran it, and there's a little bit right in there. I'll show you guys how it works, and because Tony had to give me a class over the phone, and I'm still kind of iffy, on how it fully works. But Tony's like right there, boom, 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 and then I sent to a buddy of mine.
Neil, we need that. We definitely need that. Figure it out, Neil.
So and then you can't record though. You can't record it. But then I learned you can do a screen recording on your phone. I know I'm so stupid. So I have Tommy. Tommy, if you're listening, I love you. But so Tommy, who's my producer, he's pretty smart, tech savvy. So if I need help with tech stuff, he helps me. But Jason Kinsey showed me because we were talking. They came down here and visited for a couple of days on their way to Louisiana. So I was showing the app and how where we're doing, and he goes, "Dude, you can record screen." He showed me how to do that. I was like, I can record it now. So yeah, I can do it. Yeah, so it's pretty awesome. So I'll share that with you guys. Because I have screenshots of it. No infrasound down here as a base. To where even I broke it out when we did the paranormal investigation. Nothing out there on the infrasound as well. Let's see whether we're picking anything up or whatnot, but no. And but yeah, it's a really good app. I mean, it's a pretty powerful tool.
Hey Neil, what's that little deal that you give me that's orange and it's got it ain't EMP, is it magnetic or whatever it is? What was that deal you give me?
The EMF detector.
EMF, yeah.
Yep.
The last time we was at Area 2, I had that one that you'd give me, and I don't know nothing about it, but it was reading 14. So that's the first time it ever read anything. So I don't know if that's high or low or what.
I don't know anything about it.
That's something you can check out. So I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll be honest with you. I think it'll take citizen scientists like ourselves. We're going to be the ones, not saying us, but people like us. We're going to be the ones who are going to break this out, and it is by being creative and using different tools, by getting imaginative. Todd Neese right now. Me and Todd Neese are running the same. That's what I love about Todd. We have the same theories, the same ideas, same thought process on everything when it comes to, with the infrasound, the cloaking, everything else like that. And he's working an experiment right now. And he talked about it when I interviewed him. He's taking these fiber optic cables into a bear felt and gonna, do half of it. With these fiber optic cables mixed in, and the other half not, and then take it out in the woods and photograph it. Because like the polar bear, isn't white. It just, the fur reflects everything off. I think this, squash does the same thing. A polar bear can do it. Why can't Sasquatch do it? Right. So I don't think they're cloaking per se, but I think it's a camouflage. It's a natural camouflage technique that they have, i.e., like the polar bear. And they know enough about the woods. They know where to go. They know more about the woods than we could ever possibly try and, know.
And a step beyond to say how that works and everything. Have you ever seen a cat, how its fur can just poof out if it gets scared or dangerous I believe that's part of it too. When they do that, they can actually move their fur. And when it does, the ends are translucent. So all you're seeing is what the ends of it is.
Yep. And it makes them disappear. Yeah. Disappear.
From vision. They're still there, but.
Yeah. Again, a theory that I've been running for the longest time, this will make y'all laugh, is y'all remember y'all seen the movie Predator from the 80s, Arnold Schwarzenegger? Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you look at the behavior of the predator, take the technology out. Okay, like the lasers and everything like that. You look at the behavior of the predator and now line it up with Sasquatch. I think the guys who wrote Predator had a major Sasquatch encounter and made it to a movie about aliens.
Possible, yeah. That's a perfect.
Now, according to them, they wrote it sitting on a beach, and I'm going to argue no, because with the cloaking, with the disappearing, being in the trees, stalking, the clicking sound could be the tree knocks.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, Dale! Remember how me and Marcus found Sillamore? I told you that it was clicking everywhere, and I never heard nothing like it. And I called Tony Maddox. He just brought that. I never tied to anybody else heard about clicking, but me and Marcus was sitting there. That's how we found Sillamore. We went turkey hunting and got in there one evening, and the woods just come alive with like that everywhere above us. And I called my buddy. He said, "Get out of there! Get out of there!" He had heard it before, and he was a native of the Twin Cities down there in Little Rock. He's the one that took me to the train track and saw the homeless camp and where a Sasquatch had been getting stuff from them. But anyway, that's the first time I've ever heard anybody else talk about the clicking. So.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, so like, I don't think the tree knocks, I don't think they're out there beating trees. I don't think they have sticks and they're hitting them at all. I think it's either a thump. Yeah. I think either the thump in their chest or the vocal sound they're making.
Maybe, yeah.
And so, and I don't want to bash anybody for doing tree knocks. I really don't, but I'm not going to go out there in the woods and do tree knocks. I'm not going to. So if I hear tree knock, then I know that's not me doing it.
We're the only thing that we can do to imitate what they're doing is the tree knock. But
I think they know where they're.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to one of your podcasts. You were talking about the tree knocks, and I don't know if you've ever heard of anything. We call them thunder trees. You don't have to have the stick to knock on the tree to make that noise. All you got to do is have a hollow tree with a rock, and it just resonates through the woods.
Echoes everywhere.
Yeah.
See, I also think maybe they clang rocks together too.
They do. I've heard that.
So yep. So where I'm all about, I'm on that camp as well. So I can't read with that person.
As far as cooking goes, I've had two different situations happen. One of them was me and Braden lived up there at the farmhouse before it burnt, and my dog was outside with a friend of his dog, and they were literally up on the front door barking and freaking out, and we were just ignoring them. I went outside to tell them to knock it off, and as I walked outside, I could hear clicking coming from the side of the house. And as soon as I walked out and that door shut, the clicking stopped, and the dogs ran straight into the house. But I could also hear clicking coming from the end of the driveway down the hill a little ways in the dark. And that was coming from two different directions. The second time, or another time I had clicking happen, which was before that, was actually whenever those guys from Texas come up, Wendell. Not the one that went missing, but the month before that one guy went missing. There was the night that everybody left. I stayed in the RV park by myself, and I was in there by myself. And there was something that was making clicking noises on the other side of my camper, and I didn't notice it till the next day. But there was some kind of weird handprint that I got a picture of that was on the back bumper. Well, I thought I seen something peek around at me, but I wasn't for sure. But I got out of there anyway because the clicking noises were getting on they were making me nervous. And I just felt like things were circling me, and I just didn't feel comfortable, and I felt a lot of extra pressure in there that just wasn't normal, and I got out. But that clicking noise was definitely something that was getting on my nerves, and it's something that stands out definitely for sure.
Chris,
hey, if I may,
Go ahead.
If I may interrupt you real quick, when we got back to the trucks, I think I was the first one to get back. I sat on the tailgate And in my right ear, I heard that predator clicking noise. But it wasn't like it was like coming from outside. It was almost like inside my ear. And I told Larry about that when we left. So I've heard that clicking noise. I can't explain it, but that was a little unnerving, to be honest with you.
Yes. See, that all goes back to the point, I think, to where they based the movie Predator off of a Sasquatch encounter. And I fully believe that, because you got to remember how big was a predator? It was big enough to lift up Arnold Schwarzenegger. Remember?
Yeah.
So, and it used technology though, because I think that the reason why the writers had to do that was because they didn't understand what they were seeing. Back in the 80s, we weren't talking about cloaking in the Bigfoot world. We weren't talking about this stuff at all. It was actually being made fun. Oh, you saw Bigfoot? Yeah. You know what I mean? So now you put Bigfoot on anything and you can sell it. So, but no, I do think there's something to the clicking sounds. Like Chris just commented, snap of their jaws. That could be part of it. And Karen, I saw your comment earlier. Bait, yes, I'm going to be bait, Karen. But I will, we don't fully understand these creatures at all because, well, again, I don't have one, in my carport dead. You know what I mean? Or hanging out, or stuff one down here in the tablet, so we can actually look at it, study it. And I think it's going to, and I hate saying it, it's either going to take a body, and even then they're going to be skeptics. I mean, we could go out there tomorrow, all of us, and get the best damn footage in the world of Sasquatch, and it's not going to be recognized. So it comes down to, with all of us being believers and all of us being enthusiasts about it and all of us being, citizen scientists and going in to research and to investigate and to prove, that things exist is, I don't know what's going to take for the scientific community to recognize Sasquatch. And I think the part of it is, we could go into conspiracy about logging rights, logging territories, but down here in the South, we don't have to worry about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But out west and up north, they have to. And it's just, to me, it's just, there's something not right about it. And something stands out. And the reason why it is being kept a secret, it is being, held within. But again, it'll take us citizen scientists to figure out the truth and expose it.
I agree.
Jumping back over to the predator-like cloaking. Wendell, have you seen any of Jonathan's latest research?
I hadn't sensed the hair that you found.
Well, he got some new equipment, and I don't want to step on his parade or anything. I'll just tell you a little bit about it, and when he's ready to turn it all loose, he can let everybody see it. But he took those hairs under that new equipment so he could zero in on it real good, and the different backgrounds, the hair was blended in like a chameleon. I mean, it was pretty interesting. I mean, it was cool. It really was. And
yes,
I think that's exactly what it is. That translucent hair, like a polar bear, that kind of blends in with whatever it's in there.
Yep. I'll die on that camp. I'll die on that hill. I will die on that hill.
Amazingly, went past my hour and 15 minutes. It's flashing that I'm gonna have to pay. So I guess we need.
I'm gonna take those new radios down to Rick and let them program it for him because I have no idea.
Awesome. We
should be set up.
We'll need them definitely December because where we're going to be at night, that Camp 2 is going to be vulnerable. We need to be able to get a hold of Camp 1 if needed.
Yeah. Well, I've got 4 radios now, so that ought to fix us up.
That should fix us up. And I can bring mine for close in contact with other people. one of us can have the big radio that'll reach the miles, and this one that we normally use reaches a mile, so we can talk to, like, if we get separated on the little ones, and then we can use the big one to talk back to camp.
Yeah, the big ones won't hear the signals from the other ones because it's a whole different
Right.
signal. So
right, but I'm just saying that in our little group, but like if we go out on an expedition, we can all. I got 12 of the little ones, so we can give everybody with us a radio. Just that way, they can talk to that, and then me or you, whoever's got the big radios, can talk back to camp with.
yeah. Well, I was talking to a buddy of mine out in Washington State. He uses the same exact radios, and he says out in the mountains he can get about 35 miles with it. So
That'd be good. We're only about 4 miles back and forth between camps, or 3.5, something like that.
I got two buddies of mine that are in the comms, and I'll hook you guys up with them.
All righty.
So
sounds good.
I can help you out with that.
Awesome.
Remind me too, everybody, to look up on some access roads to that second camp. That's going to be an area too that we're going to be looking into, because there is some side roads, and maybe we can have a quicker access in there. We just got to do some looking and see and kind of pinpoint some places. But me and Braden went in there a few months back, and the side road is pretty close to Area 2 base camp. So,
all right.
See you, Braden.
I never could get Braden on here, so he's going to say goodnight. And then we got one from Karen Wood up again here, message, before we get off here.
Yeah, that's Tony's wife right there. That's my combo guy, Tony. That's his wife, Karen.
All right.
Tony, we'll talk about it later.
Boys, I've got company showed up. I'll talk to y'all later. Take care.
All right. We're getting off anyway, but have a good evening.
hey, bud.
Appreciate it.
Nice.
All right. Any final comments? We'll start with Dale, and then when everybody gets all done, I'll end the show. So we go Dale, and then Neil, and then BC, and then Matthew, and then me. Go ahead, Dale.
Yep. I've really enjoyed this show. I've enjoyed it a lot. You were a good guest, Matthew.
Awesome.
I like to listen to your information.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to the next time we can all get together.
All right, Neil.
Hey, it's nice of you coming on, man. Appreciate it. Looks like we're getting bigger and bigger, and like we're going to start spreading more and get more information split up between other groups. So it's definitely a good goal. Thank you for coming on tonight and visiting everything and sharing your info with us. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Looking forward to working with you, bud, and interviewing you for my show.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, Barry.
I ain't got much to say. I enjoyed the night. Listen to all the information, talking backwards and forwards. Just say good night and God bless everybody.
All right, Matthew.
Hey, this has been a blast. This is my first live show I've done, so I'm pretty honored and happy to be on it. Looking forward to working with you guys, helping share some information and some knowledge, some evidence as well, and pretty excited about it. But you guys can find my podcast, Drunken Cryptids. I'm on Facebook, all your streaming platforms, and all your social media platforms. So, and hey, thanks for having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
that's for you, Karen. They're Baofeng, or however you say that word. They're 8-watt Baofeng.
That looks pretty close to the radio that I got. I'm glad that you got one too, because after you figure it out, you need to let me know how to operate it.
Yeah, well, my brother-in-law Rick is like an expert at the ham radio stuff, and I'm going to take him down to him. So we'll get it all fixed up. He said he could program them on a couple channels so that we didn't walk on anyone else, and we could talk directly to each other. So
cool.
And I'm sure somebody will be listening, especially at Area 2. So anyway.
Yeah.
All right. It's been a great show. I'm glad that we got to talk with Matthew, and we'll definitely be hooking up and doing investigations in the future, and hope to be with Todd Ness too. Might even get him out to the town hall meeting there in February. Don't know. But it's been great talking with all of you, and we've learned a lot, and just everybody, if anybody has any encounters, as always, you can email me at arkansasboys@gmail.com or go on to the Folklore Bigfoot Facebook page. And just about a month ago, I had a lady call me and send me stuff and everything from just outside of Mayflower, and had activity there, and she wanted to know what that sound was. It was instant. You could hear it was a locator call right there just west of Mayflower. So,
yeah.
And she's supposed to keep in contact with me, and probably next week, and then see if it continued or if it moved on. Eager to hear about that. But all right, we'll be back around the 23rd of November, and we'll go from there and see what other guests we can get on here. And y'all take it easy, and God bless, and have a good week.
See you, everybody.
See you, everybody.